The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a deep hum. Commander Jake Morrison walked through first, his boots clicking against the polished crystal floor. Behind him came Dr. Lisa Parker, Tony Martinez, and Ryan Cole. All 4 humans wore their best diplomatic uniforms, but Jake could feel the weight of every alien eye watching them. The chamber was huge, built to hold representatives from dozens of different species. Floating platforms held the ethereal Villani, their pale blue forms shimmering like ghosts. Below them sat the insectoid hive delegation, their chittering voices creating a constant background buzz. Crystal beings from the outer rim caught the light and threw rainbow patterns across the walls. Jake stopped at the center platform where 4 chairs waited. The humans sat down and looked up at the judges who would decide their fate. Chancellor Zethkar of the Villani floated forward, his under voice echoing through hidden speakers. Commander Morrison, you and your species stand accused of dangerous expansion into space. You have built colonies on 17 worlds that our surveys marked as uninhabitable. You have terraformed planets with toxic atmospheres. You have established cities where the gravity would crush most civilized beings. Jake stood up slowly. Your Honor, we followed all the proper procedures. We filed the correct paperwork. We warned other species about the conditions on our worlds. A chittering laugh came from the Hive delegation. Hive Queen Zilthara clicked her mandibles together. Warned? You sent messages saying, challenging but manageable conditions about worlds where the air itself burns our lungs. Dr. Parker leaned forward in her chair. The atmospheric composition of Colony World 7 is mostly nitrogen and oxygen, with trace amounts of sulfur compounds. Our reports clearly stated that species with sulfur sensitivity should avoid. Silence! Chancellor Zethkar's voice boomed through the chamber. We are not here to debate your reports. We are here because your species is dangerous, you expand too fast, you settle on worlds that kill other beings. You grow too quickly, Tony Martinez whispered to Jake. They're scared of us. Jake nodded slightly. He had suspected this from the beginning. The Galactic Council had been watching humanity for 50 years, ever since humans had developed faster than light travel. In that time, humans had spread to 17 star systems, while most species took centuries to establish even one successful colony. The Chancellor continued speaking. We have evidence of your reckless behavior. Colony World 3 has atmospheric pressure that would flatten a crystalline citizen. Colony World 12 has radiation levels that sterilize Villani reproductive systems. Colony World 15 has predators that hunt in packs of over 100. And yet, Jake said calmly, humans live on all these worlds. Our children play there. Our families are happy and healthy. That is exactly the problem, said a new voice. Ambassador Krixtal of the Ethereal Conclave stepped forward. His energy form pulsed with different colors as he spoke. You do not understand danger. You see a world that would kill most civilized beings, and you build cities there. You see a challenge that would end most species, and you call it Tuesday. Ryan. Cole chuckled. Well, sir, that's because for us it is just Tuesday. The chamber erupted in alien voices. Some delegates chittered in alarm. Others hummed in confusion. The crystalline representatives rang like bells in distress. Jake raised his hand for quiet. We're not here to threaten anyone, Jake said. We're just trying to find places where humans can live and grow. If those places are difficult for other species, we're sorry about that. But we're not going to stop expanding because other people can't handle our neighborhoods. Chancellor Zethkar floated higher above the platform. That attitude is precisely why this council has reached its decision. Humanity cannot be allowed to continue its reckless expansion. You endanger yourselves and set a dangerous example for younger species. Dr. Parker stood up beside Jake. What exactly are you proposing? The Chancellor's form shimmered as he prepared to announce the verdict. The Galactic Council has voted. Humanity will be relocated to a single world where your dangerous tendencies cannot threaten galactic peace. You have 30 days to gather your people from all 17 colonies. You will be given one world to settle. Jake felt his heart sink. Forced relocation of an entire species was almost unheard of in galactic law. Which world? Hive Queen Zilthara clicked her mandibles in what might have been satisfaction. Kepler 4v42c, a Class X Deathworld in the Outer Rim. It has everything your species seems to enjoy. Crushing gravity, toxic atmosphere, lethal wildlife, extreme weather. It will be perfect for you. Tony Martinez pulled out his data pad and began searching for information about Kepler 442c. His eyebrows went up as he read. He showed the screen to Lisa, who smiled slightly. "Your Honor," Jake said, "may I ask what happens if we refuse this sentence?" "Then humanity will be declared a hostile species and removed from galactic space by force," Chancellor Zethkar replied. "This is mercy, Commander Morrison. We are giving you a chance to survive." Jake looked at his team. Tony was still reading about their new homeworld, making notes and sketching habitat designs. Lisa was already thinking about the planetary ecosystem and what kind of research opportunities it might offer. Ryan was calculating how many transport ships they would need. Jake turned back to the alien judges. "We accept the sentence." A wave of surprise went through the alien delegates. They had expected begging, negotiations, maybe even threats. Instead, the humans looked almost pleased. "You will have exactly 1 year to relocate all human populations," the Chancellor announced. "After that, any human found in galactic space outside of Kepler 442c will be considered a criminal." "Understood," Jake said. He paused, then smiled in a way that made several alien delegates shift uncomfortably. "Thank you for this opportunity, Your Honor. I think you'll find that humanity will make the most of our new home." As the guards escorted them from the chamber, Jake could hear the alien delegates beginning to argue among themselves. Some seemed to think the sentence was too harsh. Others worried it was too lenient. Tony Martinez caught up with Jake as they walked through the corridors. "Sir, I've been reading about Kepler 442c. It's actually got some really interesting possibilities. The mineral deposits alone could make us rich. And the atmospheric composition is challenging but not impossible," Dr. Parker added. "With the right equipment, we could make it work." Jake nodded. "Start making lists of what we'll need. We've got a lot of people to move and a new world to build." Ryan Cole brought up the rear of their group. "Sir, do you think they know what they just did?" Jake's smile grew wider. "No, Ryan, I don't think they have any idea what they just did." Captain Beth Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the colony ship New Horizon, watching Kepler 442c grow larger on the main screen. The planet looked angry from space. Thick clouds swirled in violent patterns across its surface. Lightning flashed constantly through the atmosphere, creating a light show that would have been beautiful if it weren't so deadly. "Atmospheric entry in 20 minutes, announced Lieutenant Sam Williams from the navigation station. "The storm system is pretty intense down there." Beth nodded and activated the ship-wide communication system. "All passengers, this is Captain Rodriguez. We're beginning our descent to Kepler 442c. Please secure all loose items and prepare for a bumpy ride. Remember, this is what we trained for." Behind her, Dr. Kevin Chen was studying readings from the planet's surface. "The electrical activity is incredible," he said, excitement in his voice. "If we can tap into even a fraction of this energy, we'll have unlimited power." "First, we have to survive landing," Beth replied, but she was smiling. Like most of the 50,000 humans aboard the New Horizon, she had volunteered for this mission. When word spread that humanity was being sent to a death world, applications had poured in from across human space. The ship shuddered as it hit the outer atmosphere. The storm system grabbed them immediately, tossing the massive vessel around like a toy. Alien ships would have been torn apart by the electrical discharges, but human engineering had always been built to handle the impossible. "Hull temperature rising," reported engineer Carlos Rivera, "within acceptable limits." Beth watched the lightning dancing across their shields. "Any ship that can handle a solar storm can handle a little weather," she said. 20 minutes later, the New Horizon touched down on the surface of Kepler 442c with barely a bump. Through the viewports, the crew could see their new home. The ground was rocky and rough, covered with strange plants that seemed to move on their own. The sky was a deep orange color, and the air shimmered with heat. Atmospheric pressure is 3 times Earth normal, Dr. Chen reported. Gravity is also triple what we're used to. Oxygen levels are good, but there's a lot of sulfur in the air. Sounds like Houston on a bad day, joked Sam Williams. Beth laughed. All right, people, let's get to work. The landing ramp lowered with a hiss. Beth was the first human to step onto Kepler 442c, followed by her senior staff. The gravity hit them immediately. Every step felt like they were carrying heavy backpacks, but their training had prepared them for this. Air's breathable, announced Dr. Chen after checking his instruments. Smells like rotten eggs, but it won't kill us. Within hours, the landing site was buzzing with activity. Construction crews led by Maria Gonzalez began unloading equipment and setting up the first temporary shelters. The workers moved slowly in the heavy gravity, but they were moving. This is actually kind of fun, Maria called out as she directed a team assembling a prefab building. Like working out and building at the same time, by the end of the first day, they had established a basic camp. The humans named it Tuesday Town, in honor of Jake Morrison's famous comment at the trial. The name stuck, appearing on signs and maps within hours. Dr. Chen's science team was already exploring the local area. The moving plants turned out to be a type of vine that tracked the sun for energy. They were harmless unless you got too close, and then they just tried to wrap around you looking for nutrients. They're like friendly, strangling vines, Dr. Chen reported to Beth. Fascinating adaptation. The real discovery came when the soil analysis team returned from their first survey. The ground that looked so barren was actually incredibly rich in minerals. The high sulfur content that made the air smell bad also made the soil perfect for growing certain types of plants. With some basic treatment, this could be the most fertile farmland humanity has ever seen, reported Dr. Jennifer Liu, the team's agricultural specialist. But it was Danny Roberts and his security team who made the most interesting discovery. On their third day, while scouting the area around Tuesday Town, they encountered the planet's famous predators. The pack hunters were impressive. Each one was the size of a large wolf, but built like a tank. They had natural armor plating along, their backs and sides and teeth that could probably bite through steel. A pack of 20 of them had surrounded Danny's team about 5 miles from the settlement. Contact with local wildlife, Danny reported over his radio. They're big, they're mean, and they're definitely curious about us. Beth was about to send reinforcements when Danny's next message came through. Cancel that backup. These guys are actually pretty smart, and they seem to like us. It turned out that the pack hunters were social animals. They were attracted to the humans not as prey, but as potential pack members. The heavy gravity that slowed down human movement was normal for them, so humans and pack hunters moved at about the same speed. Within a week, the first pack hunter had been tamed. Danny named him Bruce, and Bruce became the unofficial mascot of Tuesday Town. Soon, construction crews had pack hunters helping them carry materials. The animals were strong, smart, and surprisingly gentle with humans. They're like dogs, Danny explained to a group of new arrivals. Really big, armored dogs that could probably eat a small car. By the end of the first month, Tuesday Town had grown into a real community. The temporary shelters had been replaced with permanent buildings designed to handle the planet's extreme weather. The agricultural teams had their first crops growing in treated soil. The pack hunters, now called Kepler hounds, were helping with everything from construction to security. Most impressive was the community's health. Living in triple gravity was like doing a constant workout. The humans were getting stronger and healthier than they had ever been. Children who had arrived weak and small were growing into strong, healthy kids who thought the heavy gravity was normal. The bone density improvements alone are incredible, Dr. Liu reported during a medical conference call with Earth. These people are going to be the strongest humans who ever lived. Beth stood on the observation deck of the new community center, looking out over their growing town. In the distance, she could see the lights of other settlements that had been established by different groups. The 50,000 humans had spread out across the continent, each group finding their own perfect spot to build. Captain, Sam Williams joined her at the window. We just received a message from the Galactic Council. They're asking for a status report on our extinction. Beth laughed. Send them our population growth statistics. and maybe some pictures of the kids playing with their new pets. She looked back out at Tuesday Town, now home to nearly 10,000 people. Gardens were growing in soil the aliens had called poisonous. Children were playing in gravity that would crush most species. And humans were doing what humans did best, making the impossible look easy. Send them one more thing, Beth told Sam. Tell them we're thinking of starting a tourism industry. I bet there are other species out there who would love to vacation on a nice, challenging world. 2 years had passed since the first humans landed on Kepler 442c. Tuesday Town was now New Tuesday City, home to over 150,000 people. The small prefab buildings had been replaced by tall structures made from local stone and metal. Streets buzzed with hover cars designed to work in the heavy gravity. Parks full of earth plants and local vines provided green spaces where children played with their Kepler hounds. Mayor Alex Thompson stood in his office on the 20th floor of City Hall, looking out over the growing metropolis. Below him, construction crews were working on the new university campus. In the distance, he could see the smokestacks of the industrial district where factories processed the planet's abundant mineral resources. "Sir, we have another problem," said his assistant Janet Martinez, as she walked into the office carrying a data pad. Janet had been a teacher on Earth before volunteering for the Kepler mission. Now she ran the city's education department. "What kind of problem?" Alex asked, turning away from the window. "The good kind," Janet smiled. "We have 3 more colony ships requesting permission to land. That's 15,000 more people. We're running out of space." Alex nodded. This had been happening every few months since they arrived. Word had spread throughout human space about the success of the Kepler colony. What the Galactic Council had meant as exile had become the most popular destination for human settlers. Where do they want to settle? The southern continent. The advanced team says the mineral deposits there are even richer than what we have here. Alex sat down at his desk and activated his communication system. "Get me Pete Jackson at the mining facility." Pete Jackson appeared on the screen a few seconds later. Behind him, Alex could see the massive open pit mine that had made New Tuesday City wealthy. Pete was covered in dust and grinning widely. "Hey, Mayor, what can I do for you?" "Pete, tell me about those new deposits your teams found last week." Pete's grin got even wider. "Alex, you're not going to believe this. We've found the largest deposits of hyperdrive crystals ever discovered. These aren't just the low-grade stuff we've been mining. These are premium crystals, the kind that power the fastest ships in the galaxy." Alex felt his heart skip a beat. Hyperdrive crystals were the most valuable substance in known space. Most species could only mine them in small quantities because the radiation they gave off was deadly to most life forms. "How much radiation exposure are your miners getting?" Alex asked. "That's the beautiful part," Pete laughed. "The radiation levels would kill most aliens in minutes, but for humans it's barely above background radiation. We can mine this stuff with basic protective gear. Our people are working 8-hour shifts in conditions that would require other species to use remote robots." Alex leaned back in his chair. This changed everything. Not only were humans thriving, on their Deathworld, they had discovered resources that could make them the wealthiest species in the galaxy. "Pete, how much are we talking about here?" "Conservative estimate? Enough hyperdrive crystals to power every ship in human space for the next 1,000 years, and that's just what we've found so far." After ending the call with Pete, Alex walked to his window again. The city below looked different now. This wasn't just a successful colony anymore. This was potentially the economic center of human civilization. His thoughts were interrupted by another call. Dr. Nina Ross from the Agricultural Division appeared on his screen. Nina had transformed the planet's poisonous soil into the most productive farmland in human space. "Alex, we need to talk," Nina said without any greeting. "The new crop yields are in. Good news or bad news?" "Incredible news. The modified wheat we've been growing is producing 3 times the yield of Earth crops. The soil here isn't just fertile, it's supercharged. We're feeding 150,000 people with farms that should only support 50,000. Alex nodded. He had expected this. The high mineral content in the soil combined with the planet's intense sunlight and frequent rain created perfect growing conditions. But that's not the best part, Nina continued. Remember those carnivorous plants that tried to eat our first survey teams? We've been breeding them. You've been breeding the man-eating plants? They're not man-eating anymore. We've turned them into the perfect guard animals. They're better than any fence or security system. They'll protect crops from pests, but they won't hurt humans. And they grow fast enough to replace themselves if damaged. Alex was beginning to understand why the other species in the galaxy were so afraid of humans. While most civilizations would have spent years just surviving on Kepler 442c, humans had turned every danger into an advantage. His communication system chimed with an incoming priority message. The sender was listed as Galactic Council Monitoring Station. Alex accepted the call. A small alien probe appeared on his screen, its mechanical voice speaking in flat, emotionless tones. This is Monitoring Station 7. We are conducting a routine survey of Kepler 442c to assess the status of the human exile population. Please provide casualty reports and survival statistics. Alex smiled. I'd be happy to provide those statistics. Current population is 153,412 humans. We've had a total of 7 deaths since arrival, all from accidents during construction. Birth rate is up 40% from Earth normal. Average health and fitness levels are the highest ever recorded for human populations. There was a long pause from the probe. Please repeat that information. 153,000 humans, all healthy and happy. We're expecting another 15,000 next month. That is unexpected. Please transmit detailed reports immediately. I'll have my staff send everything over, Alex said. You might also want to include our economic data. We're projecting to become the wealthiest human colony within 5 years. After the probe disconnected, Alex called Janet back into his office. Janet, I need you to prepare a special report for the Galactic Council. Include population growth, health statistics, economic data, and some pictures of the kids playing with their Kepler hounds. What kind of pictures? Janet asked. The kind that show human children playing happily in triple gravity while riding animals that the Council thinks are deadly predators. Janet grinned. I know exactly the pictures you want. That evening, Alex stood on the roof of City Hall with Dr. Kevin Chen, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. The city lights were beginning to come on below them, and in the distance they could see the lights of other settlements spreading across the continent. Kevin, in your professional opinion, how long do you think it will be before the Galactic Council realizes what they've done? Dr. Chen considered the question while watching a group of Kepler hounds playing in a nearby park. I think they're starting to figure it out. Those monitoring probes have been showing up more often. What do you think they'll do when they realize that their punishment has made us stronger? Honestly? Dr. Chen laughed. I think they're going to panic. Alex nodded, looking out over the thriving city that had grown from what was supposed to be humanity's grave. Good. Let them panic. We've got work to do. In the distance, the lights of the spaceport showed another ship coming in for landing. More humans, coming to join the most successful colony in galactic history. What had started as exile was becoming the foundation of human expansion into the stars. Chancellor Zethkar floated nervously in his private chamber aboard the Galactic Council's flagship. The reports from Kepler 442c sat on his desk like a collection of impossible lies. According to the monitoring stations, the human population had grown to over 200,000. They had built cities, established mining operations, and were apparently happy. This cannot be correct, he muttered to himself, reading the data for the 5th time. A chime announced the arrival of Hive Queen Zilthara. The insectoid ruler clicked into the chamber on her 6 legs, her compound eyes reflecting the light from the data screens. The reports are accurate, Chancellor, she said without greeting. I have verified them through 3 separate monitoring systems. The humans are not dying on Kepler 442c. They are thriving. Zethkar's ethereal form shimmered with distress. How is this possible? The atmospheric pressure alone should have killed them within weeks. Apparently, humans consider crushing atmospheric pressure to be character building, Zilthara replied, dryly. My intelligence sources indicate they are using it as a form of physical fitness enhancement. The Chancellor activated his communication system. Get me Admiral Krixtal. We need to send a humanitarian mission to Kepler 442c immediately. Admiral Krixtal's energy form appeared on the screen moments later. Chancellor, what are your orders? Take a fleet to Kepler 442c. The humans may be putting on a brave face, but they must be suffering terribly. We will offer them aid and assistance. Perhaps we can negotiate a relocation to a more suitable world. Admiral Krixtal's form pulsed with confusion. Sir, the latest report suggests the humans are actually quite comfortable on Kepler 442c. Impossible, Zethkard declared. No species can be comfortable on a Class X Deathworld. They must be hiding their true situation to preserve their dignity. 3 days later, Admiral Krixtal's fleet arrived at Kepler 442c. What they found defied every assumption they had made about the human exile. Instead of a struggling settlement barely clinging to survival, they discovered a thriving star system. Orbital stations constructed from converted asteroids surrounded the planet. Ships moved between the stations and the surface in regular traffic patterns. Most shocking of all, the orbital facilities were clearly designed to accommodate multiple species. Admiral, reported Captain Vexhai from the lead scout ship, we are being hailed by what appears to be a human space traffic control center. Put them through, Admiral Krixtal ordered. A human woman appeared on the screen. She was sitting in what looked like a comfortable office with windows showing the planet below. Behind her, Admiral Krixtal could see other humans working at various stations. Good morning, Admiral, the woman said cheerfully. I'm Helen Walker, Trade Coordinator for the Kepler system. Welcome to our space. How can we help you today? Admiral Krixtal struggled to find words. We are here on a humanitarian mission to offer aid to the struggling human population. Helen's smile grew wider. That's very kind of you, Admiral. We're always happy to meet with other species. Would you like to dock at Station 3? We have facilities designed specifically for ethereal physiology. You have facilities for my species? Of course. We've been expecting visitors ever since the Council's monitoring probes started showing up. We figured someone would eventually come to check on us. An hour later, Admiral Krixtal found himself in an environmental suit designed for his energy form, walking through the corridors of a human space station. The artificial gravity was set to galactic standard, and the atmosphere was carefully controlled to be safe for multiple species. His guide was Steve Carter, a human who introduced himself as the chief city planner for New Tuesday City. Steve was tall and muscular in a way that suggested he had spent years in high gravity. He moved with easy confidence through corridors that would have been challenging for most species. The Admiral wants to see how we're managing the harsh conditions, Helen had explained when arranging the tour. Steve can show you our infrastructure projects. They took a shuttle down to the planet's surface. Admiral Krixtal watched through the viewport as they descended through the violent storm systems. Lightning danced around the shuttle's shields, but Steve seemed completely unconcerned. Beautiful weather today, Steve commented. The electrical storms have been perfect for our new power grid. They landed at New Tuesday City's spaceport. Admiral Krixtal stepped out of the shuttle and immediately felt the crushing weight of the planet's gravity. His environmental suit compensated, but he could still feel the oppressive pressure trying to flatten him. Steve walked beside him without any visible effort. The gravity takes some getting used to, he said conversationally. But it's great, for staying in shape. Our kids love it here. As if to prove his point, a group of human children ran past, laughing and playing. They were followed by several Kepler hounds, the massive armored predators that the Galactic Council had warned about. The children were riding on the creatures' backs like they were ponies. Those are the deadly pack hunters mentioned in our surveys, Admiral Krixtal managed to say. Oh, you mean the Kepler hounds? Yeah, they're great with kids. Very protective. We've got about 10,000 of them working with our construction crews and security teams. The tour continued through the city. Admiral Krixtal saw factories processing materials that would be toxic to most species. He saw farms growing crops in soil that should have been poisonous. He saw humans going about their daily lives in conditions that would kill most galactic citizens within hours. Most disturbing of all, He saw research facilities that appeared to be working on projects that could benefit other species. Dr. Jennifer Liu showed him around a medical research center where humans were developing treatments for genetic disorders common among crystalline species. The unique radiation environment here has given us insights into cellular regeneration, Dr. Liu explained. We think we can help the crystalline people with their brittle bone syndrome. At the Environmental Engineering Center, Carlos Rivera demonstrated atmospheric processors that could help terraform marginal worlds for other species. We developed these to handle our own air quality issues, Carlos said, but we realized they could help the Veilani establish colonies on worlds with sulfur-heavy atmospheres. By the end of the day, Admiral Crickstall was completely overwhelmed. He found himself in Mayor Alex Thompson's office trying to process what he had seen. I don't understand, he said finally. This world was supposed to be your death sentence. The Council chose it specifically because we believed no species could survive here. Alex leaned back in his chair and smiled. Admiral, I think that's the fundamental difference between humans and most other species. You look at a challenging world and see death. We look at it and see opportunity. But the conditions here would kill most of my people within hours. That's why we're offering to help, Alex said. We've developed technology and techniques that could let other species visit or even establish research stations here. With proper support, this could become a center for interspecies cooperation. Admiral Crickstall's energy form flickered with confusion. You're offering to help other species survive on your world? Why not? We've got plenty of space, and we've figured out how to make this place work. If other species want to come here, for research or trade, we're happy to provide safety systems and support. That evening, Admiral Crickstall prepared his report for the Galactic Council. He sat in his quarters aboard the human space station, looking out at the lights of New Tuesday City below. The city stretched to the horizon, a thriving metropolis, on a world that should have been empty except for corpses. He began typing his report with hands that shook slightly. The human exile to Kepler 442c has not proceeded as expected. Rather than serving as a death sentence, the relocation appears to have strengthened human civilization significantly. Furthermore, the humans have offered to share their adaptations and technologies with other galactic species. He paused, trying to find words for what he had witnessed. Finally, he added, It is this officer's opinion that the Galactic Council may have made a serious miscalculation regarding human capabilities and intentions. As he sent the report, Admiral Crickstall looked out at the impossible city below and wondered what the Council would do when they realized that their attempt to exile humanity had instead created the foundation for a new kind of galactic civilization. 5 years after the trial that was supposed to end human expansion, Commander Jake Morrison walked through the halls of Kepler Prime Station once again. This time he wasn't wearing the simple diplomatic uniform of a defendant. He wore the formal robes of Earth's official ambassador to the Galactic Council, and he wasn't alone. Behind him walked Dr. Lisa Parker, now the director of Interspecies Medical Research. Tony Martinez had become the chief engineer for the Kepler Development Corporation. Ryan Cole led a security detail, but today they were ceremonial guards rather than protectors. The real protection came from the dozen other species that had requested to walk with the human delegation. The Galactic Council chamber looked exactly the same as it had 5 years ago, but everything else had changed. Instead of empty seats and hostile faces, the chamber buzzed with alien delegates eager to speak with the human representatives. Jake could see crystalline ambassadors waiting to discuss the new bone density treatments developed on Kepler 442c. Veilani trade representatives clutched proposals for atmospheric processing partnerships. Even the Hive delegation, which had been the most vocal about human exile, had sent negotiators hoping to establish research colonies on human worlds. Chancellor Zethkar floated at the center of the chamber, but he no longer commanded the room the way he had during Jake's trial. Too many species had seen the benefits of working with humans. Too many problems had been solved by human ingenuity and determination. Commander Morrison, the Chancellor began, then stopped and corrected himself. Ambassador Morrison, the Galactic Council recognizes your credentials and welcomes you back to this chamber. Jake smiled and walked to the same platform where he had been sentenced 5 years earlier. Thank you, Chancellor. It's good to be back. The Council has reviewed the reports from Kepler 442c. Zethkar continued. The situation there has developed in ways we did not anticipate. You mean it developed in ways humans anticipated? Jake replied calmly. We tried to tell you that what you called a death world, we called Tuesday. Hive Queen Zilthera clicked her mandibles nervously. Ambassador, the Council wishes to discuss the possibility of establishing formal partnerships with human colonies. Our species have much to offer each other. Jake looked around the chamber at the assembled delegates. Every major species in the Y galaxy was represented, and all of them looked eager to make deals with humanity. It was a complete reversal from 5 years ago. I'm glad to hear that, Your Majesty. Humans have always believed in cooperation and mutual benefit. A new voice spoke up from the crystalline delegation. Ambassador Morrison, our people suffer from genetic disorders that affect our bone structure. We understand that research conducted on Kepler 442c may offer treatments. Dr. Lisa Parker stepped forward. That's correct. The high-gravity environment and unique radiation exposure on Kepler 442c have led to breakthroughs in bone density enhancement and cellular repair. We've developed treatments that could help crystalline citizens live longer, healthier lives. And what do you want in return? Asked the crystalline delegate suspiciously. Partnership, Lisa replied simply. We share our medical research. You share your crystal-growing techniques. Everyone benefits. Jake watched the reaction around the chamber. 5 years ago, these same species had been terrified of human expansion. Now they were fighting for the chance to work with human colonies. The Council has a formal proposal, Chancellor Zethkar announced. We wish to establish a new classification system for challenging worlds. Instead of marking them as uninhabitable, we propose a partnership system where humans serve as pioneers and caretakers. Tony Martinez stepped forward this time. What exactly does that mean? It means, said Admiral Crickstall from the Ethereal delegation, that when we discover worlds that are too dangerous for most species, humans would be given first settlement rights. In exchange, human colonies would provide safety systems and support for other species who want to conduct research or establish limited facilities on those worlds. Jake considered the proposal. It was essentially giving humans official permission to do what they had been doing anyway, settling on worlds other species considered impossible. That sounds reasonable, Jake said. But we'd want some guarantees. What kind of guarantees? Zethkar asked. No more talk about exile or punishment, no more treating human expansion as a threat, and no more interference with human colonies that follow proper procedures. The chamber erupted in discussion as different species debated among themselves. Jake waited patiently while they worked through their concerns. After 5 years of watching human success on Kepler 442c, most species had come to the same conclusion. It was better to work with humans than against them. Finally, Zethkar called for order. The Council accepts your terms, Ambassador Morrison. Humanity will be granted pioneer status for Class X worlds, with full support from the Galactic Council. Jake nodded. Excellent. I think this will be the beginning of a very productive partnership. There is one more matter, Hive Queen Zilthara said. Our intelligence reports indicate that humans have identified several new worlds for potential settlement. The Council wishes to be informed about these plans. Jake's communication device chimed with an incoming priority message. He glanced at the display and smiled. The message was from Amy Foster, now the Director of Colonial Development on Kepler 442c. Actually, Your Majesty, I just received an update on that. Jake looked around the chamber at the assembled delegates. Our survey teams have identified 3 new worlds suitable for human settlement. All of them are Class X death worlds by current galactic standards. When do you plan to begin settlement? Asked the crystalline delegate. Jake checked his chronometer. Well, it's Tuesday on Kepler 442c right now, so I'd say the first colony ships will launch sometime Thursday. The chamber fell silent as the delegates processed this information. 5 years ago, they had tried to end human expansion by sending them to one impossible world. Now humans were voluntarily choosing to settle 3 more impossible worlds, and they were planning it like a routine business transaction. Dr. Parker leaned over to Jake. Should we tell them about the ocean world with the acid storms? Or the ice planet where the snow is actually frozen methane? Tony added quietly. Jake shook his head slightly. Let's not overwhelm them. They're still getting used to the idea that humans consider death worlds to be real estate opportunities. Chancellor Zethkar floated closer to the human delegation. Ambassador Morrison, may I ask a personal question? Of course. Do humans truly find these dangerous worlds comfortable? Jake looked around the chamber one more time. 5 years ago, these aliens had thought they were handing down a death sentence. Instead, they had given humanity the greatest gift imaginable, unlimited room to grow. Chancellor, Jake said with a genuine smile, for humans, there's no such thing as a death world. There are only worlds that haven't been settled yet. He paused and activated his communication system to send a response to Amy Foster's message. Amy, tell the Colonial Development Team that all 3 worlds are approved for settlement, standard pioneering protocols, and let them know the Galactic Council is now officially supporting human expansion to challenging worlds. Jake looked back at the assembled delegates. Ladies, gentlemen, and honored representatives of the Galactic Council, I've just received word that humanity has been offered 3 more worlds you once would have considered uninhabitable. We'll have colony ships ready by Thursday. He smiled wider as the implication sank in around the chamber. For us, it's just another Tuesday. The chamber remained silent as Jake and his delegation walked out, leaving behind a room full of aliens, who were finally beginning to understand what they had unleashed 5 years ago. They had tried to punish humanity by sending them to a death world. Instead, they had created the most successful colonial expansion in galactic history. Outside the chamber, Jake paused to look through a viewport at the stars beyond. Somewhere, out there, 3 new worlds waited for human settlers. Worlds with impossible gravity, toxic atmospheres, and deadly wildlife. Worlds that would become thriving human colonies within a few years. Just another Tuesday for humanity.